Another activity you can do here is going on a night hike. Now we're going on a night hike. Going on a night hike.
Hopefully all of them. All right, guys, you're up.
Catch up for a second. Light blondish color. They're still considered black bears, and they are definitely not like grizzly bears. They don't chase their food. They don't go hunting in the creek. They're quite lazy. They like eating berries. We even catch them eating grass like a cow sometimes, just out there grazing. And he also really likes rotten logs because they're full of bugs. So he'll sit there hours and hours just picking away. We did have a fire about 3 seasons ago. This was called the Railroad Fire. As you can see, it did get very, very close to the hotel. We were out of work for about 12 to 15 days or so. And this fire did get so bad, and other fires that same season, because we had a really, really bad bug infestation. But fires aren't always bad. They do bring a lot of new growth and new life. So it doesn't take too long, but within a few years, we'll be seeing a lot of new trees and new bushes coming up. Like someone was making snowball forts. So we'll see on our way back through the hike. Sometimes later in the night, a lot of these clouds kind of disperse. We might have a little bit better stargazing a little bit later. Piece of a toy. Alright, if you guys see this tree right here, this is what we call a white fir, also known as the weed of the forest. So this tree, it does take over areas. Their saplings will grow about 70%, unlike other trees, which is around 10 to 20%. So these, as you can see, all these little tiny trees, they're all the same thing, and they actually won't get much bigger than this, because if they were alone by themselves, they can. But when it's so clustered, they actually steal each other's nutrients, steal each other's sunlight, and they don't actually get that big. So these are very, very high in vitamin C. If you guys want to take one and just kind of break the needle up in your fingers. One of these and then there's no fun. So we do want to try and stay on our path. You guys can see most of it is pushed down from the snow, but we do just want to be careful, so just try and stay on the walked area. And that's called the white thorn. Alright, so behind me here, we do have some of our biggest trees right around here at the lodge, because like I did say, it did get logged a lot. It almost got actually completely clear cut about 100 years ago. And these are some of the trees that have survived it. This is a sugar pine, and this is a very big one that we have. They're pine cones. If you guys maybe have had pine nuts before, that's where they come from. They're actually our biggest pine cone. They can get about 23 inches long. So very, very big pine cone. And we are lucky if we see one before the squirrels get it. That is their favorite food. So usually you'll just see them, just the core of it, just the middle, and it's all chewed away. But that is actually how these trees reproduce the most, is squirrels dragging their cones somewhere. Oops, sorry. Dragging their cones site to the sugar pine. Like I was saying, as you can see, it's connecting at the bottom. This cedar is actually going down through its roots, stealing its water, stealing its nutrients, and essentially killing this other tree. And commonly, you would never see these still living together. You would see this tree living and this tree down on the ground. So this is very uncommon, so we do call these the happy couple. And they are both still very healthy trees. They both drop pine cones every year, so they're still doing really good. I'm not quite sure how, but they're making it work. Trees on the hike. You guys can see this horizontal tree right here. And she actually is still alive. So this is from years and years of being pushed down from the snow. So from when it was a little tiny tree, just started out and just kept going. But this is how you can tell trees are very, very strong survivors, and they will do anything they can to get up to the sunlight. So in this case, these branches over here will actually grow back into the ground, and this will become the new trunk of the tree. So eventually, as long as this part doesn't break off, because it is still getting its nutrients from the end, so as long as that part stays safe, this tree should survive. This is from having like super strong winds or big snows as well. So if there's like a big snow drift right here and it's still growing, it'll make it actually grow completely sideways. We're getting close to the creek now. They're called mountain blueberries, which are actually very large carpenter ants. This is a whole colony of them. They're actually living underneath this stump right now. Generations and generations of them are just down in these little tubes, kind of staying dormant. But in the summer, usually at nighttime we come, this is completely crawling with them. And they actually are edible, and some people say they taste like blueberries. I beg to differ, but this is what we call lichen. It is edible for us. It probably does not taste very good, most likely just grass, but it is edible and it does have some vitamins in it as well. They do call it wolf lichen because it is poisonous to different animals. The pioneers would actually grind it up and put it on top of meat just to trap and kill like coyotes and different predators from getting their cattle and different things like that. And that's these little pieces of moss hanging off. And there's green and there's gray. So this is where we would usually stop for our first stargazing. We don't have very many stars, but I am still going to have everyone turn their flashlight off for a second. Get, like down into the ground fast enough. Yep, it'll just keep on moving. And these guys right here, these are our baby giant sequoias. They kind of look like big Christmas trees. I do call them babies because these ones are about 75 years old and they can live to about 3,400 years old. So they have a lot of time to grow, very young. And just like the white fir, we have about 6 planted here and only 1 will survive. Especially these trees, they are very, very big. They need all the nutrients. You guys want to feel those? prickly. And they have this kind of waxy film on the outside. So yep, we'll just stay like right up here. We just don't want to get too close. So this is Big Creek. It's not very big right now, but it does get big. You guys can see this erosion up on the wall. So this is actually raised like almost 10 to 15 feet in one season before. So all this snow melts and it completely rages through here. All this island right here is completely covered. And it's actually very, very dangerous. So sometimes in the peak season of this, we actually don't even take hikes through here just because it is such a danger. And do you guys think you could drink this water?
Yes. Sounds refreshing.
You would think it. We're gonna get pretty close to the edge up here, so please just really watch your step. Take it nice and slow. See, it all looked like that last night. Started moving again. And they actually come down and they chew on it. The bears do, and it actually helps for their digestive system. So sometimes you'll see them down here like chewing on that horsetail as well. Real frozen. If you guys want, you can feel the water. It's very cold. Over the entire thing last night, so it's gotten at least a few degrees warmer. And we do have 3 different kinds of fish. And this is a Sierra Youth Camp right across. They do a lot of good stuff for the kids. They're actually open year-round too. And they like tried to film a movie right here, and it was very, very strange. So we actually had people come out here and they camped right down here, and they were like, they didn't really talk very much. They just wanted to film this scary movie down here. So we left this for an example.
What was the movie?
I forgot what it was called, but it was a local movie. They filmed some down in Yosemite as well. Water. And his den is about 500 yards or so up the hill, and it's like a 6.5 foot deep hole that he dug himself, covered with different debris. We don't lose no.
Yours?
So this is the top of that trail that the bear uses to go down to the water. If we can scoot up just a little bit more so we can get everyone in here. There we go. Yeah, this is the top of the trail. And if you guys see this tree right here, we'll wait till everyone. Shoving bark in his mouth. And there will be another tree up here on your right. It's kind of a skinny tree, just so you guys can all see, and there's some bark removed, and that's where you guys can actually see his claw marks where he was digging in a little deeper. So this was like 2 seasons ago maybe, when he was much younger as well. Almost to the top. This is what we call lamb's ear. It also has very big yellow flowers on the end of here. Feel it. Oh, forgot my stick. Oh, there it is. Thank you. A lucky stick. So you wouldn't really get lost because it is just a straight road, but you'll be out there for a while. Apple in Spanish, because in the summertime these are actually completely covered with little clusters of red berries that look like little apples. And these are actually the most abundant edible food that we have out here. Everything eats it, from the bear, the Native Americans, raccoons we've even seen like munching on them. So this is the most abundant, and this is also our hardest wood. If you burn this wood, it will burn for a very, very long time. And it actually can, if you burn it in your wood stove at home, this can actually ruin your wood stove because it burns so hot. These trees, all the way from North Fork to Yosemite Valley, and this was the trade route that they used, and they wanted it because they might have only used it, once a year, and this is to make it so none other tribes really know their path.
From about what time frame?
And we call it that because it does get very sticky, and it starts to it doesn't smell too bad, but it does have a strong smell. And so if you guys are like hiking through the backcountry, and sometimes you don't have any option but to walk through a huge field of this, it actually gets your laces and the bottom of your pants like so sticky that dirt and pine needles and bugs and everything stick to your shoes and your pants. And it kind of smells. So it's no fun. But the bears, of course, they're messy and they love it. They'll roll and roll and roll in it and then go rub up on a tree, and it helps them like stick their hair and their scent to the tree.
It's called bear what?
Oh, we call it bear weed. It's actually, there's a scientific name for it that I don't really know, but I've always called it mountain misery. You can see the nails right here too.
Yeah.
Definitely a big dog though. So when we see a mountain lion, instead of them being like super oval like this, they'll be really round pads. And then if they do have their nails out, they'll almost like curl down into the ground.